terrorist links rather than this is somebody who's mentally ill who has just sort of fallen for the trump card of the far right.
And I have to say, let me give you an example of my life, which is that whenever there is a small crack or a bum or some flight has happened, it happens so many times, straight away something is not coming to mind. For example, that something happened in Berlin, straight away my office is going to call and say, oh, that's a terrorist attack. Or if it has happened here, it used to be, is it a racist attack?
Yeah.
Yes, there has been so much stereotyping, and there is a lot of evidence we have to accept, that there is evidence that a lot of these have been terrorist attacks, and a lot of them have been claimed by ISIS or Al-Qaeda or Taliban or such groups like this, and which has led to this stereotyping. But we have to accept that there is this stereotyping, and it would be a terrorist attack more often used than a mental illness if it was of any other.
But that's despite the fact that we do know that many of many Muslims who have links to radical Islam are also isolated and suffering from mental illnesses, but yet we still say they're a terrorist.
Yes. And so I accept it.
Well, yes, it's normally people say that, but I think this is a wrong perception. We should, anything happens, we always say things like this, but that's a wrong way of approaching things, wrong way of dealing with the issues. And
or probably it just shows us what are the issues in the society at the point.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, the isolation is very important problem at the moment, whether it's with the young people, whether with the senior citizen, and I take that one up very strongly in my borough, and I'm working on hard that people should get involved with things. So when they are busy, they are more creative, they are more active, the mind is there, and they can give back to the society as well. But one thing I don't understand, I think we have to change some rules and regulation and laws in this country. Because if this person was not well, whatever his reason may be, the mentally sick, what people are saying, then there should be some more security or scrutiny on these sort of people. Because I see sometimes, if a young parent smack a child, I'm not defending that, but I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
You phone to Social Security, a lot of people will come, they start investigating, they take the child away.
Yeah.
And it can break the whole family. It may be a small matter.
Over a smack.
Only a smack.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of control on those sort of things. But when these sort of people walk around in the society, the government knows, the hospital knows, they are not well, they could be vulnerable, they could be.
I mean, so do we know anything about how he was monitored? Because
exactly.
We do know that he was never in hospital.
So we should monitor.
But we know that he was on medication.
That has been said a lot, so much about mental illness and the kind of money that is invested in it. That it has been the first thing that gets through austerity or cuts. Famously is first the mental. That's the axe that goes to mental illness, and it is very difficult. And it is a more drawn out process.
Is that because
drawn out process, I would think.
Yeah, but we need more monitoring on these sort of people.
Yeah, but my question is then, so do these cuts happen to mental health because it's within the perception of, let's say, because it's local authorities, and as a councillor, so Anna Mayor, former mayor, you've been in charge of this. So is that because at local level it's more acceptable for a council to make a cut to mental health than it is, say, to social services and child protection?
No, because the cuts been passed from the central government, and it's going to affect...
The central government cuts the money. It's up
going
to you where that axe falls.
As a local authorities, you have to provide the maximum possible, the best service for your resident, right? But there's always one service which get affected more than the other.
Yeah, but why is it always mental health?
No, it's not always the mental health, but there's always something which people feel they are more close to one than the other. So there's always, all the services get affected. Little bit get more, the little bit get less.
Okay.
No, but do mental illness get affected more? I mean, is it first in the line to get
The thing that strikes me is that, you know, there are debates in Parliament about this, and it gets raised a lot of Prime Minister's question time and things like that, where councils across the country, so it's, you know, not just picking on Southwark and you as a former mayor, you just happen to be here, but I mean, even in places like Hounslow, in Southall, everywhere, the mental health budgets have been the first to be cut, and they've been cut the largest. But then, as you say, you smack a child and your kid's in a care home. Why is it that childcare would be more protected than, say, mental health, where we've now ended up with somebody getting killed? I mean, I know we have baby P and things like that have happened in the past, but why is it that it's so imbalanced? Can't it be a bit more equal? And why can't they be joined?
Yeah, we can join a lot of services together. That's another way of doing it. The basic thing is how to save money.
Yeah.
So like frontline services, we need to deliver that.
Yeah.
Whichever borough it is, whichever, the town is, we have to deliver all those frontline services. Sure. The only thing is the procurement. I always say in my borough, when we procure these services, we have to be more careful. We have to be more like negotiating in a more better way.
Yeah.
Like we should ask them to provide good services, but at a better rate.
Yeah.
I think this is what is lacking at the moment. You know, the bureaucratic system need to be more, you can say, negotiable.
Okay.
So I think that's what we are lacking. Like in India, we negotiate in a big way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything is a bargain. We
Yes.
want best.
I've experienced.
Yeah. we should bargain in that way. I think.
No,
value for money.
I think what I would also think is that and if something happens, for example, Baby P happened and all attention went and everyone started scrutinizing their budgets. Now something like this has happened and that just comes into focus. It's sad that something like this needed to be happened for us to talk about more rather. And that will stand as an example or a sample of mental health budgets were cut, and so something like this can happen.
Sure.
So probably now we might find more questions and funds as a result
funding.
going on.
But this is my question. Why is it that this had to happen in the first place? Because we know the
That's the
people,
case.
and it's a long-standing. It's well known in this country over many decades, and certainly within my lifetime, that you get a recession or you get cuts to council money, and the first thing that gets cut is always mental health for some reason. It's always the frontline services.
Yes.
So
Yes.
people, elderly and people like Thomas Mayer, become even more isolated than they were before. They then turn, now we're in the age of the internet, they turn to the internet, and this spills over into everything. It spills over into radical Islam, where we find young kids up in their rooms, socially isolated, with mental health issues that possibly people don't even know about, that then get radicalized. And frankly, it looks like the same thing has happened here, which is why I brought the two together. It looks like the same thing has happened, but there is nobody checking. And why is it, as a council, you would cut that ahead of child services, ahead of a school budget, or ahead of collecting rubbish or sweeping a street? I mean, people seem to be more concerned of picking up a piece of paper than the fact that Thomas Mayer was on his own being radicalised by right-wing groups and then shot an MP.
Maybe.
But
have to establish that.
like you just mentioned about the internet, I think we have to have some more scrutiny and laws on the internet as well. But as you can see, he has collected all. It's a handmade gun. It's a
it is
So he has
one-
collected all those things from the internet, and he has prepared the gun at home.
Yeah.
Like I've seen in India, I've heard that people make guns at home. So if people are doing it here, then we need to check those sides as well.
Yeah, but I think it is.
My point is, if there was
one
nobody
aspect-
visiting him to check,
Yeah.
particularly a
No,
man who's on
but if-
medication for mental health
but
issues,
if
that
he-
could have been spotted.
But if he's importing on the internet those things, so we have to keep an eye on those.
No, that's
those
the
things
point
as well.
that it's not possible.
How
to
can
keep
somebody
an
can
eye. It's
have
not
a gun
possible to-
and then a knife and walking on the
Yes,
road freely?
It's not possible to keep
know?
an eye unless someone is keeping an eye, and unless someone is told to keep an eye, unless someone gets the budget to put someone to keep an eye. So it's just that why
Budget is
actually-
always an issue on everything. I understand that.
We all understand the money is gone, but
I guess it's
but
the
the
vigilance in
priorities-
mental illness is just required for such a long time. that it is difficult to sustain that budget over a long time, and that is why I don't know. I don't have an answer. I think you would probably.
I think it's the isolation in the society.
No,
when
but
people,
why mental illness first?
No. When people get isolated,
Yeah.
I think, like every neighbor is saying, he was a good man, he was good with the gardening, he was helpful as well. So we don't know what was in his mind. Why did he come out and done such a silly thing?
He'd also taken part when there was money for mental health services. He had taken part in schemes to help clean parks and to do gardening in public spaces, and he was actually interviewed by his local newspaper where he said what a wonderful thing it was that he was out and about, he was meeting people, and it made him feel so positive about life in general. And yet again, there we go, the money was cut, the scheme stops, and then he sat in his bedroom looking at the internet,
I think
seems.
It is so sad. There is a story there as well of that man, in that man. That
this doesn't
in
excuse
himself-
him. He's
no,
clearly,
of course not. But he must be so miserable, or miserable is not the word. He must have even hit bottom than the rock bottom to have done something.
But do you
like
do you think that if somebody is outspoken about certain issues, if you are passionate about something, if the lady was passionate about working with Syria or Syrian people, if she is passionate about staying in, so nobody got freedom to say whatever they want to say.
That's a very different issue, and certainly not what I'm saying. Everybody should have the freedom to say whether they want to stay or leave.
So, no,
we
don't know the cause.
There has from all over the political spectrum been praise for the work that Jo Cox did with Syrian refugees, on behalf of Syrian refugees, and frankly, George Osborne even admitted that it was thanks to a lot of the pressure that she had personally applied that he found money to send to Syrian refugees. So there's been a lot of praise for that work, and that's certainly not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that Thomas Mayer acted to kill Jo Cox. He seems to be mentally ill. Let's go along that line. Let's not call him a terrorist right now. Yeah. So let's say this is a chap who's mentally ill and socially isolated, who has managed to build a gun at home, and nobody was watching what he was doing, and it's because the budgets have been taken away from the mental health services that would have done that the programs that were keeping him out of the house and doing something useful and productive and meeting people in society so that he wasn't isolated and didn't feel isolated, these have been taken away. And my question is, how do we correct this? Where is the money going to come from? I mean, if it was you in Southwark and you were told, right, you've now got to find another £2 million for mental health services to restore these projects, where do you think the knife could fall on other services to move it? I do appreciate there is a budget.
Yes.
So where do you think, what other services could be reduced in order to do that?
Well, in Southwark we always do the priority. We always try to cut down the back office. This is how we're trying to save money so far.
Yeah.
First is always the back office staff. We cut down, we try to procure better, we try to negotiate the contract. So we try to save the money like that. But there's always some services, some get 5% cut, some then 10% cut, which we all have to distribute our budget accordingly.
Sure.
But coming back to the other point now, this incident has raised two very important points. First is where and how are we going to find the money for people like him who are not mentally or physically or fit. Secondly, the security of our local MPs and councils. So there's two new questions raised. So I think government has to sit down and think very carefully and seriously, instead of spending money on so many other things, and they have to change their system also to bring some money on this pot, so where they can look at again the people with mental health issues and also for the security of the local MPs.
I totally agree.
May not be in a big way, but at least in a small way.
So how do you then go about pressurising central government? Because it's clearly from central government you're looking for that money to come.
Yeah, but I think this issue has made them think, or maybe they'll start thinking on this thing when they sit next time, that this issue has come up, because all the MP, like you said, 200 MPs or 250 has reported to Home Office that they have been attacked or they've been threatened. So, I'm sure they're going to sit down and plan about their own security, because they're also member of the family, they go to the families as well. So plus they're part of the community.
Is it time to accept that mental health is an illness and actually shouldn't be in the care of the local authority at all, and it should be under the local NHS trust. And then it becomes part of an NHS budget rather than a council budget.
Yeah, I mean, these conversations
that's a question
need to start.
that's a question to
Probably
rethink
these
again. This question has to be debated again.
Yeah, conversations need to start about
Again.
the mental illness budget.
Yes.
Of course, about moving it to NHS and what it would do. It's a very interesting question, and the conversations, I assume, would start.
Or maybe we should have a special extra budget for this sort of mental health illness, you
Yeah.
know, because there should be a special pot for this.
So just as they've got a pot
So-
for potholes, they should have a pot for mental health. I mean, which
Well,
probably, is,
Yes,
I mean, I would
basically-
imagine somebody's mental health is a little bit more important than suspension.
Because,
Yeah, but-
because what happens, have you seen? And I am very...
No, because it's
I'm sorry,
very-
it's a bit of a digression. Just before the next budget has to be allocated, all the potholes, or not many potholes, start getting filled in all the boroughs. Is it to finish the budget? And probably that's where we could find some of the budget for isolation.
From those potholes, we have to find a pot to have this mental issue to be looked into.
I mean, good roads, don't get me wrong, good roads are a requirement, of course. I mean, good infrastructure is needed to be able
No,
to
we
increase
need
economy.
everything perfect, but you know, there's always sometime, you know, like in family also,
Well, I say,
you want
I
to
think
buy
I'd rather have
something.
a hole in my
okay,
road than a hole in
I'll
my head.
buy this year or this thing, and next year I buy this thing. You know, you have to budget.
Yes.
Sure.
You know, we all have limited income. Even the government have limited income coming into the
Yes.
kitties.
But
So they
then-
have to spend.
What about
accordingly.
councils working together? I mean, perhaps, like, say, Southwark could work with your neighbours, like Hounslow could work with...
Well, we are working on
Southall.
certain issues with our next door neighbours. You know.
But could we bring mental
Lambeth.
health together? So rather than have it as Southwark Council...
We are working on many issues with our neighbours
Yeah.
already, just to save the cost, and we
Yeah.
shouldn't have duplication of the things. You know.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
a lot of things can be done. You know.
Yes, the conversations, I guess, would start. But I also feel another thing which you touched on, is do we think that the world, it today in this environment, it is becoming more and more difficult for us to be of a different opinion, and do we have to think twice, shut our mouth? I mean, not twice, but thrice before we speak now.
Or is it a case of it's rather than having a different opinion, it's how you express that opinion? I mean, for example, we saw at the weekend Nigel Farage with his lovely poster of refugees, not immigrants, and saying this is why we should leave the European Union, because all of these people are marching to London, despite the fact they were on the continent and couldn't walk across water. So is it because we're seeing things done in that way, which has lowered the tone of debate, which has angered people, and then those who are susceptible, like Thomas Mayer, then get angry? So is it the level of debate, or is it that we're not allowed to say?
I'll go a little bit on the other side. Like if you see what Jo has done, she has loved her neighbor, she has loved neighbors. I think that's what is lacking. You know what we should learn or get things from India.
Yeah.
That we need a bigger society, we need like a bigger family. So we should love our neighbor. You know, that sort of things that's missing, because everybody is becoming a nuclear family, and people are losing that touch, humanity touch.
Yeah.
So that's what is lacking in the society. I think if it's there, so we will think of looking after our neighbor, looking after somebody else, even unknown person. So then those people like him,
Yeah.
those are not mentally ready or mentally,
Yeah.
I think they might come into society, and we might have less people in the society.
Love thy neighbor.
Yeah, loving a neighbor and neighbor's neighbor, or unknown people also. So we need to give back to the society. I think that's what is lacking.
I mean,
It's very easy to say we need this money, that money, but really the passion is not there. The love and affection is not there.
I think it's very.
So do you think it's more a
catch-22.
case
I
of bringing
have to
communities together
Yes,
to look after each other?
strongly believe in that.
But it's
So if you think your neighbour, so if his neighbours have thought, oh, maybe there's something, if they'd have known him better,
Yeah.
because they said he was a loner, the people didn't really know him. So if they'd have known him better, they maybe have said, oh, there's something not quite right with Thomas. Maybe we should speak to his mental health nurse, or we could report something, or even just see how he's doing.
Yeah, I went to street party recently, the Queen's, Jubilee party, and 90th, and then I met so many people. They're saying we never knew our neighbor.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say, if this one lady, She said, oh, she's not well now, go and see her sometime, on and off. So if she feel happy, if she not feel lonely now, she will be less dependent on NHS. I'm not going to say she will not go to NHS.
But
Of course.
I have
So
another question.
it's going to make little difference in their lives. So they feel more happy. They may
Yeah.
feel, I think
No, I completely
Okay.
understand. I have
That
a little,
passionate is
I have
passion.
a little answer. Do you think this is becoming a little catch-22? Because yes, love thy neighbor and get everyone in the community for a very good idea, but bringing security for the MPs, taking them away from that community. So where?
no, we are not saying every MP. I'm saying whosoever think in their area they feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I'm saying
I-
during their surgery time, if they wish, they feel like, they can have a private
I mean,
security
a good
guard.
example
Everybody
of that.
don't have to have.
One of the participants in the Home Office reported that they received a telephone call at home from somebody threatening to kill them, but the call was taken by their 7-year-old daughter. Yeah, exactly. And a female MP had to get her husband to go and look down the street before she could walk out the front door.
Yeah.
I mean, are these instances where you think, would not necessarily erect a barrier, that pane of glass I was
Yeah, we
talking
don't
about
want that.
earlier, but maybe that individual could maybe apply to the Speaker of the House or to the Expenses Office and say, look, I've got a major problem. I'd feel a bit better if I had somebody just coming along with me for a while, or even a guy sat at the house. I've got a 7-year-old daughter who's just been told that daddy's going to get murdered.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, as I said, whosoever feel they need this sort of protection, so there should be some sort of
Yes.
funding or allowances.
So, what do you think Joe's legacy should be?
Joe's legacy, I think.
Love your neighbor and neighbors and give love and affection to everybody, and you can see the result. That's why thousands people are there everywhere wherever the service is happening. People are putting flowers. This shows love and affection. This is the message to every human being on this planet, especially in UK.
Yeah.
Give that message. She should be remembered the way she lived, not the way she's been murdered. That's the message should
Yeah.
be how she lived.
I would totally agree, and I think that her husband Brendan said that the most that she would want is that we bathe their children in love, and also to not let the people who did this, the hate
Yes.
speech or the hate to conquer or have a victory. So yes, love, inclusion, and fighting for those who can't, giving a voice to those who don't have, to continue with their mission passionately, even if it means the roads are difficult. So yes, love and love thy neighbor. Totally agree.
Do you both think
to
that-
celebrate her life more than how she did?
Would you both say that Britain should be doing more to help refugees? Not necessarily as a result of Joe's death, but there's certainly something that she campaigned for and often won, so we're told. But would you like to see that continue and be increased to do a lot more for the refugees of
I think,
and even bringing them in,
well,
regardless of the vote tomorrow?
This is a very political question. I think helping refugee is not the only answer to this issue or problem. I think it's more good investment in those countries, job creation, and more harmony. I think that's more important. I think that's the role of the G80, G20, to guide them how to bring prosperity in
To
their
use
country.
that expertise.
To use our expertise to teach them how to bring prosperity in their country. I think that's the right answer. So if everybody is prosperous, I don't think, and if there's more peace in the world, like we just said exactly the same thing, we need love, affection and peace, and that's what needed in those countries. So if peace is there, prosperity is there, I don't think we'll see all these refugees coming to Europe. This is my strong belief.
I don't think we can open the doors to everybody in this country. Having come from another country, I'm saying this, but I see the whole debate that's happening tomorrow. A lot of that, our EU referendum, it has been spearheaded with this whole issue of immigrant and immigration and to control over our borders. So we have to be, it's very difficult to choose who we can
Yes.
help and who we can't when everybody is in misery. But such is life. We cannot open
But what is
the
the
door.
best way to help them? Is it better? I mean, you've talked
To
about
solve
investment.
the Middle East, so to have negotiations somehow across the table and look at bringing peace into Middle East and not muddle with them any further. I think that's where the problem has been. The problem, we could go for another hour talk about
Yeah.
that, but it's really about settling them in
Yes.
their own country, because I have been to Germany, I've been to all the refugee camps, I've spoken to Syrians, and when I asked them, what do you want? And they said, and would you come here in normal circumstances? No, they would not want to. They are nostalgic, they want to go back to their own countries. It's just that they can't. And we have somehow, the world has to come together to have a conversation to bring stability in their own country and prosperity in their own country, rather than them having to look at this country. And if they look at this country, then they bring some skill, which is what the country here is wanting as well. Where would the people in Britain go? And it's a lot of heavy art, I have to say that, but that is the truth.
Yeah, I think I agree with Lavina that
But
the issue has to be solved when you sit on the table. You cannot win war by
Yes, I have to just say
war,
for Joe
but-
one small thing, that whatever we have said, as a mother, a politician can be replaced, but a mother can't be.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it's just the saddest thing.
Well, it's been a very, very interesting discussion, and I do hope that there will be some legacy from such a tragic event as Joe Cox's death. Do remember that tomorrow is the EU referendum, and however you're going to vote, please do just get out there, put your cross in a box. However you vote, get there and vote.
Yeah, do vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Why miss your family and friends? Call India landline and mobile numbers for just 1 pence per minute with our saver rates. To activate, text SAVE to 2525. Also get unlimited calls and texts from Leica Mobile to Leica Mobile with every top-up. Terms and conditions apply. For your free Leica Mobile SIM, visit leicamobile.co.uk today. Leica Mobile. Call the world for less.
स्वागत है आपका प्रोग्राम जन्म कुंडली में। कैसा होगा ग्रहों का हाल आपके लिए, किस तरह से आप ले पाएंगे इनसे लाभ, क्या होगी दशा आपके लिए, देखना ना भूलें जन्म कुंडली विद अनिल शर्मा ऑन MATV।